What's up, fungal associates? Welcome to Completely Arbortrary, the podcast about trees and other related topics. I am but one of your hosts. My name is Alex Crowson, and I am alongside, as always, Mr. John Casey Clapp.
That's right. Hello, everyone. Welcome. Good day. Alex, I have to answer a text message.
Okay.
Sorry, I didn't. I just saw it, and it's timely.
Okay, Casey is going to answer his text message while I say something that has been weighing heavily on my shoulders for a long time.
Oh, no.
In 1996, I committed a murder in Billingham, Illinois.
Alex, I had no clue you've been to Billingham.
Last week, we said on the podcast that we were going to end the podcast.
That's right, we did.
At the time, this was a joke. Not everybody knew that it was a joke. Some people thought we were serious, which, you know, everybody has a different radar for irony and sarcasm. That's fine.
Yeah.
We're very sorry that we joked about this.
We regret it immensely.
And to show you how much we regret this folly,
we're going to do penitence.
Yes.
Yeah.
This is our naked walk through the streets of King's Landing, Casey.
Exactly.
To apologize in the only way we know how, we will be ending the podcast.
It had to be done in order to essentially bring us a level of reality where we know we can't just make these kinds of jokes. There are repercussions.
Yes.
And we're holding ourselves accountable.
That's right.
What we're doing.
Hey, but stay on the Patreon, will you? We'd really appreciate that.
Yeah, please do that. That's what we need.
Oh, Casey, we're not ending the podcast.
Alex, it would be ridiculous if we did end the podcast as retribution for making a joke about ending the pod. Not retribution, as repentance.
Yes.
I can't say penitence.
You're adding a syllable.
Words. Repentance.
Repentance. Yeah, so anyway, we're not ending the podcast.
Joking.
That was but a ruse.
Yeah, also, it was a ruse the last time, too. As you can tell, we're here.
Double rused.
Hey, but you know what? Hopefully, we'll get a lot of people signing in this week because people last week would be like, I got to check to see. And they're looking like, oh, actually, there is a new episode. I guess I'll listen.
That's a very scummy marketing technique.
Sorry, everyone.
Casey, this week, as we do every week, we're going to talk about a tree.
Yes, we are. And you know what? I'm very excited about this one this week.
I am too.
I know.
I know nothing about it, and I'm ready to learn. Casey, we're talking about a tree this week, and the tree in question to continue our Spooktober event is the Thorn Mimosa.
Yeah, it is.
Scientific name?
Vachellia, and the specific epithet is nilotica.
Nilotica.
That's what I think, or nilotica.
Nilotica.
Yes. Either way, I think is all fine.
Okay.
It's one of those things that is like so obviously phonetic that you're worried you're saying it wrong.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's how I feel about this. So Vachellia nilotica is what I think I'm going to stick with.
Okay. I will too.
Rolls off the tongue, Alex.
It's also got a few common names, but we've decided to go with Thorn Mimosa.
Exactly.
So Casey, let's imagine that you and I are walking through a place that might have these trees growing in them.
Oh, okay.
And we come across these trees, funny enough.
Well,
Let's ID this tree.
let's go for it, Alex. So the place that we may be walking is vast, similar to last week, but not quite as vast. You'll recall last week we talked about a species of Pisonia tree.
Yes.
And that tree grew essentially anywhere a tropical Pacific breeze would touch.
Right.
This tree grows in the almost exact opposite locations where nearly no tropical wet breeze ever blows.
Alpine.
Not alpine, just dry.
Okay.
So
okay.
Yeah, okay. So you recall the last time we did a Vachellia, it was Vachellia tortuosa.
Yes.
The umbrella thorn.
That's right. Oh my God, we have another Vachellia.
We sure do. We sure do.
Wow.
This one, the pasta is just as good, but we're gonna use a pesto sauce this time.
Wow.
Because it's obviously the superior sauce.
Okay, you're a pesto man. I mean, over what? Marinara,
Alfredo,
Yeah.
and almost every other kind of sauce other than maybe a garlic aioli. Every time.
I would not call that a sauce.
I know, but I'm showing you just how broad my perspective is in terms of how superior pesto is.
Big pesto guy.
Yeah, I think pesto is like
better than the resto, would you say?
Oh, thank you. I would say that. It crushes all the competition.
Just making sure.
Anyway, let's get back to this tree. It grows in a lot of different places, and I found a really good resource that describes it. And it says it grows in drier, tropical, and subtropical areas of Africa, from Senegal to Egypt, down to South Africa, Asia, from Arabia eastward to India, Burma, Sri Lanka.
Damn.
It's essentially that entire sphere of places going from going clockwise. If South Africa is like 7 o'clock, then it goes all the way up to like 2:30.
That's crazy.
All the way out there to like Southeast Asia. And it's when you think about it, there's a lot of places that are similar in there, which is essentially dry habitat that's more like big grassland savanna area.
Okay.
That is its specialty. Now, you could tell these two apart, our previous Vachellia with our current Vachellia, because the Thorn Mimosa is a tree that grows in a big globe format.
As opposed to a big umbrella.
Exactly. Instead of being low and kind of short and maybe looking like a small mountain in the middle, kind of this big, long, flattened triangle, this looks like you take a big poof of just like a ball of poof.
I'm glad you said poof.
Yeah. Well, of course you are.
You take a big, fat poof.
Oh, yeah, I didn't even realize that. I was like, yeah, what else was he going to say, Alex?
Also, when you said Vachellia really aggressively.
Ooh, I did.
And the first half, I was getting a little worried.
Ooh, like what is he going to say next?
Well, you're going to yell vagina at me.
You're thinking in a certain way today, Alex.
I guess I am, Casey. It's this change of weather.
It is.
It's me all.
A smoky fog over Portland, and Alex just goes straight to the toilet.
Literally.
Well, so it grows over there, and it has this big, large, spreading, multi-stemmed kind of thing. So it's not a big tree. Maybe 50 feet is about the tallest that it gets, 14 meters or so. But if it's growing in a really rough place, stays like maybe 10 feet. Like,
you know how much I love a tree that you can see the whole thing?
Yeah, you can.
I love that.
This is that example. Not only that, but it grows in places that usually are not forested in a traditional way.
Sure.
So it's more like a tree that's on pedestal for you to see the whole thing.
Yeah, you get a good line of sight. There's not going to be other shit crowding your view.
No, just tall grass, maybe a zebra, that kind of thing.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah, pretty nice. Now, you're looking at this tree, and the first thing that I think many people notice is it kind of looks a little messy. So it has like this big kind of globular form, and it has branches that come out, but because of the way the leaves grow, in my perspective, it has like a big base, but then it has like these little emergent stems that kind of come out. They kind of look like they extend a couple feet beyond the rest of the crown, but they're so small that they kind of disappear over time. Like as they get longer, they get smaller and smaller.
Okay.
Basically, they're like new leaves coming out. It's an evergreen tree because it grows in places that are already dry, so it just kind of chills there. So as the new leaves are kind of being born and unfurling, they're very tiny. So at the very end of the twig, the leaves are just nascent leaves. They're just about to come out. So as you're looking at the tree, it kind of gets smaller and disappears at the edge, kind of like a cloud.
Yeah, you know, I compare this to in Photoshop. You can turn up the feather on something that kind of like turns the opacity down on the edge of something.
Yes,
so it kind of fades to nothing.
This is exactly what it looks like.
This looks like a feathered tree, and then you look at so I look at this tree and I go, "Whoa, there's like a lot happening.
There's a lot going on."
And then I look at all the components. And we're going to talk about those components right now.
Yeah.
But each component is so unique and interesting.
Yeah.
This is like a turducken. Like, this is just so much.
It's layers upon layers upon layers of mimosa thorn.
Yeah. And there's just like, but there's also like, you know, here's a beef Wellington.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, great. I stuffed it with, With oysters. Okay.
Oh.
I also really like chocolate cake, so I glazed it with frosting. All right.
It's like, okay, that sounds great. Is there anything else? You're like, no. Yes, I covered it in a peanut sauce.
Right. This is just like a bunch of good stuff together with no real plan.
Exactly.
Or artistic vision.
But when you put it all together, you're like, actually, the artistic vision was there the whole time.
It's an acquired taste.
I think that's very fair, but I look at pictures of it as a little bit more of a mature tree. I say that because after 5 to 7 years, it starts to flower and put on its fruit.
Sure.
And then the fruit, which we'll talk about, kind of hangs down and provides like almost it looks like it's moving. Like if you have the tree and you're just looking at it, it's opaque at the edges, but then it looks like you quickly moved it up. And it kind of has smeared down a little bit. That's
the smudge tool?
This is the smudge tool, yeah. But it's like a slight smudge tool, almost to the point where you look at it and you can't quite focus on it.
Yeah.
Because the fruit also, I'll just say it, they're little pea pods. It's in the pea family.
Yeah, let's start with the fruit.
Let's start with the fruit. Let's go backwards this time. The fruit of our lovely Vachellia tree is a little pea pod. And not only is it a little pea pod, but it's a funny little pea pod that's very closely related to our umbrella thorn, as we discussed before, where it has these pods that come down, and then where the seeds are, they kind of get big and fat, and then they go back down again. Then they get big and fat, and then they go back down again. And they're usually very, very flattened. So the umbrella thorn had like kind of big balls of where each seed was, like it's very circular. In our case today, they just really aren't. And a lot of people may be familiar with this tree. If you are in Australia, they call it the prickly thorn down there. The prickly mimosa, prickly acacia. There's a lot of different names. And it has like these really adorable little flattened pea pods.
To me, they look like a snake who swallowed a family of mice.
Yeah,
it's got that like bulbous. I guess all pea pods look like that, but this especially, it's very like in between the peas.
Yeah,
it gets really narrow.
Yes, exactly. And before, like when they dry, they kind of get even flatter. Before they dry, they're a little bit more circular, and they look. People have described them like a pearls, like a string of pearls coming down. So these are the fruits. They are flattened. They come down and they kind of get big or wide, skinny, wide, skinny, wide, skinny, wide, skinny. And then when you look at it from afar, it looks kind of like they're zigzaggy, so you have to like focus on them.
Yeah.
So that's why the tree itself looks like it's constantly moving up at a very quick pace. That's how I see it.
Motion blur.
Exactly. It looks like a motion blur
filter.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's one element that makes it confusing to look at it.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the flowers, which are another element that makes it confusing to look at.
So it's an evergreen tree growing in these tropical locales. If it is growing in its native habitat, where there's not a whole lot of seasonality in a sense where it's very, very stable most of the year. Sometimes there's rain, sometimes it's dry, but for the most part, it's the same kind of temperature. It's the same climate. It will flower like several times a year, kind of almost continuously. Maybe like every 2 months, it'll start putting on flowers.
Really?
Yeah, it's like every 5 to 7 months. It is. It's common with like tropical trees where there's no real reason for them to stop.
Wow.
They just like kind of keep going. It's a big energy expense, so a lot of times they'll like slow down, build up some energy, and then go again.
Wow.
Sometimes they do it like multiple times throughout the great season. Magnolias do this where they kind of flower a few times all the time, just kind of constantly. It's not like one big flush and then everything quits and turns into the next thing. So you can actually get flowers and fruit on this tree at the same time.
Wow.
And because of that, you get these really big, like yellow splotches between these vertical gray, white to black drying pea pods. And those flowers are just spectacular.
Amazing.
I know that a lot of people are going to be upset with this. Mostly, like I said, people from our Australian contingent. Our hearts go out to you. This tree's horribly invasive in Australia and a lot of other islands and other places where they have that same kind of habitat, this kind of dry tropical area.
But hey, it's a novelty to us.
It's a novelty to us, and where it grows natively, it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So, sorry.
These are great flowers, Casey. Little yellow
Oh my
pom-poms.
gosh, they are just little yellow pom-poms, and they're just so gorgeous. I love them to death.
They're almost like a perfect little ball.
They really are. They look like a little ball of like a cotton swab or something like that.
Yes, yeah. Cotton ball.
Yeah, they look like truffula trees.
They really do,
They really
Casey.
do. But just the flower, not the whole tree.
Yes.
We should be clear.
And if we through scientific, what was I going to say? Through genetic engineering,
We can make this possible. It's one big tree. Just make a giant flower.
Yes.
And that's it. That'd be great.
with monkey puzzle limbs.
Yeah, exactly. Just one that grows up, and then that's it.
This is what I was hoping out of that video game Spore. Remember that game Spore?
Oh yes, I think I do. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
But
too
it
bad.
didn't really deliver.
Hey, if anyone out there is listening wants to make a video game, we want to see truffula trees everywhere.
A plant and tree genetic engineering game.
Now that's spooky.
That would be so cool.
All right, there you go.
It
You
may
heard it right
exist.
here first.
Casey, I would love to talk about the leaves.
Okay.
Because the leaves are one of the most they have one of my favorite characteristics.
Yes, it does.
These leaves are pinnately compound.
Not only.
They are bipinnately compound, Casey.
Yes, Alex. Oh my gosh.
Leaves within leaves within leaves.
They are leaves within leaves upon leaves with a little bit of hair.
And a little bit of leaf.
Oh my gosh. They're so gorgeous.
They're incredible.
So we talked about them being like tiny little leaves. They come out, they have like about maybe 6 to 8 or 6 to 10 individual pairs of, they're called pinnae, and those are the individual leaflets. Yeah, that's right. So you have your stem. A leaf is defined by the thing that's just below the bud. So then that leaf comes out, then it branches, then those branches have those individual leaflets on them. Each one of those secondary branches that's holding the leaflets is called a pinnae or a pinule.
Is this how you obnoxiously order pasta at an Italian restaurant? Can I have the penne?
And they're like, you mean just pinnae? I just want to be clear.
Oh, sorry. I just got back from Italy.
Anyway,
It's a different world over there.
Like, I hate these people. Also, we need more breadsticks.
Also, I would love a calzone.
Yeah, that makes me sick. So they grow out. They're alternately arranged down the stem. They are this bright, like bright yet also like mauve or not mauve. It's
like a muted lime green.
yeah.
I would say.
Thank you. That's what I'm trying to say. It's bright yet muted at the same time.
Yeah.
And they're not very big. They kind of stay maybe about 5-6 inches long, a little bit longer, a little bit shorter, depending on kind of what's going on. Of course, the newer ones are a little bit smaller, and they usually stay really kind of tight, and then they open up a little bit. So they kind of will open and close those leaflets ever so slowly.
Why?
It's based on conditions. So a lot of leaves will do this. They'll kind of close up a little bit whenever there is like kind of either dry weather or cold weather.
Okay.
And then when everything's feeling good, they'll kind of open themselves back out again.
Oh, just to protect.
Yeah. They also do it when they're coming out, like unfurling. They'll be really closed as they're unfurling. Then when they're fully out, they'll kind of be like, whee, and flip open.
Okay.
Yeah, they're really beautiful little things. I mean, a lot of leaves move way more than we give them credit for.
That's interesting.
Yeah, it's really one of these fascinating things.
I guess I have seen like the time lapse videos on planet Earth
Yeah.
of the leaves like doing dances and shit.
Yeah, exactly. That's the exact thing we're talking about here.
Yeah, so Casey, these three elements with these three infinity stones,
Yep.
we look at the Vachellia,
Yep.
and boy is it a mess.
And that's not even where it ends.
Oh my god. Have we
have
talked
a
bark?
fourth. Well, we have, but we haven't. We can talk about that, but that's not the real thing that gives it this name. We don't call this bark mimosa, Alex.
We forgot I forgot the thorns.
It is super intense.
Wow.
They are so long. Okay, they're not like really long, but they are like, I think about like 2 inches, maybe 3 inches long. And I think they can kind of get bigger and smaller.
That's fucking long.
That's really long. They're just super huge, intense thorns. There's 2 at the end of each leaf that comes out.
Deadly.
They really are. And you know what? They are deadly, Alex. They are deadly.
What do they kill?
Well, it's I wouldn't go so far as saying they kill something.
Something kills themselves on them.
Sounds spooky. But before we get to that, Alex, let's talk about this bark.
Okay.
Because this bark is actually interesting in a few different reasons.
Oh, we're holding off on talking about the thorns in depth?
Yeah. Oh yeah, we're gonna let that die and maybe it'll come back to life.
Oh my God.
Anyway, Alex, what's really fun
You can tell
about
we didn't rehearse that.
What are you talking about, Alex?
You sounded like Lizzo. Anyway.
Oh, did I?
Yeah.
Could you tell her that?
Yeah, I'll let her know.
Okay, thanks. I mean, I know you guys like
We're buddies.
you're close.
We're in a flautist Facebook group together.
A flautist Facebook. There's not. I want one more F.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of people have reached out to us, by the way, and I just want to.
Oh, Casey.
I just want to say this.
What a gaffe.
Okay, fine. Alliterations can be just two. I hate that. Because if you just put two things together, that doesn't make anything. You need Alex, two is not a crowd. And I think if you're going to have something be unique, you need at least three of them. You can't stand up something on two things, it falls over. You have to have at least three legs to make something stand, Alex.
Grammar is not a metaphor, Casey.
I'm sorry. I just have to stand on my three words is an alliteration. For anyone who disagrees, send it to us on a $20 bill and maybe we'll consider it.
People never really come after us for anything.
We got came after.
But that was a little bit of a come after that alliteration can be just two. I'll say this. I think in English grammar, to some extent, your cones are your own.
Yes. Okay.
There are so many rules and so many things that break those rules.
Yes.
That you can kind of make up your own rules and just have fun with it. You're having fun with this delusion that two words doesn't make an alliteration.
I'm having fun with my delusion.
Yeah, like Leonardo DiCaprio in Shutter Island.
He's just having a great time.
He's just role playing.
Shh, don't tell him. He really likes this, okay? Just let him do it.
Have we talked about this before? I want to see that movie from the perspective of like one of the nurses.
No, but that would be a great one. She's just sitting there watching this guy explain to other people like this big intense theory, and she's just shaking her head. No, I would love that though.
Oh, it's so fascinating.
Okay, fine. I accept your alliterations are your own, but also, you know what? They're mine too.
Yeah, that's right.
And if you just say the serious serpent to me and want to make me be like, wow, that was very well done, you're not going to get it. You have to add one more thing onto it. That is a seriously stupid serpent. Then you got me. I'm sold.
Sure.
Hook, line, and sinker, baby.
All right.
That's what I need.
All right.
Sorry. Back to the show.
Wow. I'm keeping every moment of that in.
You do good. I think you should. Because,
That's something I would usually edit out, but not today.
Yeah, because now you know that this needs to be addressed.
I want to give you the platform.
Thank you. I really appreciate you giving me the platform. It makes me feel heard.
You're welcome, Casey. Now let's talk about the bark of this tree.
Okay. All right. So the bark is extraordinary. The bark, the gum,
Wow.
the leaves, the pods are all used in various traditional medicines. And it is used, the bark, to do a bunch of things. One, tannin. People will make, they'll do tanning, tan hides out of it, tan things, and use it to make colors for cotton and other fabrics and things like that.
Tannin makes things into leather, right?
Yeah,
It kind of treats the hide.
Yeah, and it gives it its color.
It gives it its color.
Yeah, that really darkness to it.
Okay.
Brown leather. That usually is tanned leather.
But doesn't it also have compounds in it that help treat it and make it waterproof? And stuff?
I believe that is the case.
Okay.
I don't know 100%. I haven't done a deep dive into what tanning is.
Kind of interesting.
Yeah. Hey, maybe that's an episode waiting to happen.
Yeah. All right.
I have an idea already, Alex.
Okay.
I'm not going to tell you right now.
That's what tanning is.
Exactly.
So what are the flowers and the pods and such used for?
Oh my gosh. A whole bunch of things. People make them into teas. They'll add it into flour. People would use it in treating leprosy and coughs. This is the bark. They also use the gum, which we call gum arabica.
Oh.
That is
yeah.
it's like an additive to a lot of different stuff.
Yeah.
Medicines and candies and a million different things.
Yeah.
That has been used to treat cancers and tumors and chest problems. You name it. It's been a thing that's used for millennia upon millennia upon millennia.
It treats cancer?
Allegedly. Now, this is something that when you look at traditional medicines, there's not necessarily the same kind of Western science that's saying this treats this.
Of course.
Sometimes it's more just like you get better or something happens, but it happened to be that you were being given this at the same time. So then that's the traditional thing. It happened once. It happened a few times.
Yeah.
They just say, that's why.
All right.
But I also don't want to take credit away from the tree itself or these traditional ideas because, hey, they still work. For what reason? Maybe Western science hasn't pinpointed that, but I don't think that makes it wrong or inaccurate.
Casey, I agree.
Perfect. So it's got like a bunch of different stuff. There's a lot of different resources out there that say how it's been used. And again, you think about where it's been used. It's in this kind of cradle of Western civilization where there's been people passing and trading information and technology between India and the Middle East and Africa for so long. And we just happen to have been writing all these things down that all these places ended up getting basically heard. Someone wrote it down. The pharaohs used it. They wrote it down. They then traded it over to these people. They said, oh, sweet, that's how we use it too. This is wonderful. The Indians, they write a bunch of things down. So you ended up getting these peoples with long histories writing down all these different things. So there's lots of trees. Acacias are native to Australia. There's other species native to the southern United States, Mexico, and Guatemala. All of those plants probably have really similar uses.
Okay.
It just so happens these ones in the quote-unquote old world have everyone got written down. So we still see them.
Interesting. Well, Casey, we got plenty more to say about this.
Boy, do we.
Single quote deadly tree. I'm not putting these in two quotes.
Yes, okay. I think it's very British of you.
Well, thank you. I really appreciate that. But we got to say all that after the break. We will be right back with more Completely Arbortrary Spooktober 2022. Welcome back to Completely Arbortrary. Today we're talking the Thorn Mimosa, aka a bunch of stuff. But I feel like lately we've been talking about a lot of trees that have like 20 AKAs.
Yeah, right.
And I'm just sort of like, I just want to pick one and land on it really hard.
Well, which one do you want to land on?
The Thorn Mimosa, Casey.
All right, I think that sounds really good.
So today we're talking Thorn Mimosa, and you tease that there's more to say about the titular thorn.
Yes. I have two things to say about this.
Okay.
The first thing is that it is called, rather it used to be called, in a very Latin traceable way, the thorn. Thorns. Acacia comes from the old Greek akakia, A-K-A-K-I-A, something like that.
Okay.
And acacia is interesting in that there used to be acacias from all over the world. It was one big, gigantic group of plants.
Big family?
Big family. Well, actually, no, the family is the pea family. I shouldn't go that far.
Oh, big.
It's just one genus.
Big genus.
Yeah, big genus in the family pea, which is Fabaceae with a B. And there used to be, I think there's like some 900 species of what used to be known as, what is known as acacia down in Australia and New Zealand, kind of the Oceania area.
How many species? 900?
Something like 900,
Okay.
yeah. There's another probably 80 or 100 native to Mexico. There's a native species to the more southern areas of South and Central America.
That's a good amount.
There's a good amount. They're kind of all over the place. And then, of course, you have these old populations in Asia, like in India and all the areas that we're talking about for our species of tree. And so it used to be called, all of these, acacia, and it was the second largest genus in this entire pea family.
Yeah, hold on. So how many species of conifer are there, Casey?
Ooh, 630.
There are 66% more.
Yeah.
Or 30, I don't know how to do math.
Some significant amount.
More species of acacia than there are of all conifers.
Yes, correct.
That's a fun fact. Take that to your next lame party.
So, the reason I bring this up is because we're talking about the titular thorn.
Yeah.
I love calling things thorns, just as like a hawthorn tree. Get rid of the haw, just call it a thorn.
That's a thorn.
Yeah, I think that's really fun.
Yeah.
But the funny thing is, these trees that literally come from the Greek word for thorn, and now we pronounce it as acacia. Back then, I think because they did hard C's, would have been acacia.
Okay.
So, acacia, and if you think of the way language, if you think back to our episode where we talked about language and we played that game where you would read a bunch of words and decide, wait, is this word, is it mean a round thing or a sharp thing? And like the different syllables and like how they pronounced birds or fish, I think is what it was.
Right, yes. We had two columns of words.
Yeah.
And one of them was a fish and one of them was a bird.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
So this tree, the tree that we're talking about, is the titular thorn that goes back to the Greek acacia.
So are thorns on roses named after?
You would probably call that an acacia, but then this tree itself would be the acacia. It would be like, this is the thorn, those have thorns. An A versus a the. You know what I mean?
Okay, yeah. This is the thorn. That is a thorn.
Yes.
But wouldn't you also say that the tree is a thorn?
Exactly. That's what sets it apart.
Wait a minute.
Alex, are you following?
No, I don't. I think you're the one who's not following, my friend.
What have I done?
Order in the court.
Order.
I lost track. I can't. I was saying that tree is a thorn.
Yes. Acacia.
That thing on a rose is a thorn.
A cake.
Whatever.
I think that's
it really
correct.
doesn't matter, I reckon.
All right. Well, it comes back from this one guy who used the term. His name was Dioscorides, and he was this ancient Greek kind of botanist, medical guy.
Sounds really Greek.
Yeah, it is, right? Dioscorides. So it's pronounced, I mean, I don't know the exact Greek language, but it is what I think it'd be an alpha, then what is the letter K, then an alpha, then what is the letter K, then an I, then an A.
Okay.
But they would pronounce it with that harder C sound. So it wouldn't have been like Lucius, would have been Lucas or something like that.
Right, Lucius.
Yeah. So in this case, the tree that we're talking about, this is what used to be the type species of all acacia. And you'll remember, the type species means that when you go and find another plant that looks like it,
right,
the type species is the one. It's like they have to look like this in order for that to be put into this genus.
Right. So when you're categorizing, you find a new tree that you think might be a part of that family or genus.
Exactly.
You have to compare it to the type species.
Exactly.
And see how close it is.
Exactly. Close enough. Cool. Add it in. It's now a part of that genus.
So this tree really is the thorn.
It is. But in the last 20-some years, basically botanists were like, actually, no. And there's all these species in Australia that are a monotypic gene or monotypic clade, which means they are one big family of plants. You cut that branch off that family tree, they're all over there. Whereas all the rest diverged all over the place somewhere, and they're just different enough that they're like, these can't all be the same genus. We have to split these up. But because this one is the type species, they were like, well, it can't not be an acacia because the term acacia defines all acacias and is defined by this tree.
Yeah.
But this is where we're going to just touch the surface of this and talk about something else afterwards, because this is a botanical fire that we don't want to wade into.
Oh my God, I can't wait.
In 2005, the powers that be voted coincidentally, I believe in Australia, that the acacia was going to be now transferred to only those 900 some species from Australasia. And that will be the type species for acacia. And everything else is going to be changed. And they changed them to Singalia. The American lineages are Acaciella and Marisosa. And the last one is Vachellia.
Oh.
So acacia not only has been ripped apart to 5 different genres,
Yeah.
the type species for acacia was taken
Oh my God.
from our lovely tree that we're talking about right now, which used to be known as Acacia nilotica.
A usurper among us.
It's a usurper, and now
my
not
God.
only has been stripped of its royalties, it's now the type species for Vachellia, which is kind of this like, whatever, you know, just this old thing.
It founded its new house.
Exactly. It's got a new house, different name entirely, and it is very controversial right now.
Wow.
Because you are not supposed to do that. That's like the big thing that you're not supposed to do.
Right.
But when they realize that this other family is like completely like way bigger, they're like, there's 900 compared to like maybe 100 or some of these. We can't like in good conscience just like stick with that because it doesn't make any sense. It also breaks this other rule. It's like the biggest one kind of has the type species and all these things.
Sure.
It's very controversial.
Let me ask you this. Why? So you say you're not supposed to do that.
Yeah.
Why?
I don't know.
Well, there you go.
And I don't want to get into it any further than that because inevitably we're going to get like botanically canceled. Someone's going to be like, there's good reason for it. And they'll go on.
Oh, brother. Wow.
And there's another reason I want to talk about this titular thorn.
Okay.
I just thought we should note that the thing that we're saying is not the thing that we're saying anymore.
By the way, if we were going to get botanically canceled, it would have happened by now.
Yeah, it's coming down the line. I can hear the rumbling. Someone's like, "Have you heard this new podcast? They're talking about what we do, and I don't like it."
Oh, Lord.
Alex,
What?
you remember how I said that this tree kills things? Rather, I'm sorry, you said that.
You kind of winked when I said it. Like,
Exactly.
You were like,
I was like, it doesn't quite kill things.
I can't believe we're moving on from that last subject so fast.
Do you want to come back? Hold on, let's take a breath. How do you feel about Vachellias?
I just think it's interesting. I think this is like a great HBO series waiting to happen.
It is the ripping apart of the families,
Yeah.
like how they're like torn apart, and one takes over the actual family name, and they're not necessarily the biggest, most oldest part of that family.
Exactly.
Alex, the thorn of the acacia tree is known across the world. Of course, we know this because, generally speaking, acacias, and I'm going to say this in a lowercase a, all of the trees that used to be in the genus Acacia, I'm including right here. Funny enough, except the ones that don't have thorns, but let's not even get into that. Everyone's mind just exploded where I just made this huge argument about the name being Thorn, and now also there's some that don't even have thorns.
Oh my gosh, what a mess.
I'm a sicko is what I am.
Who made this mess? Was it you?
It was me. I definitely did. And, also these other people. But messes are what we're here for. And I want to talk about a mess that not is made by us, Alex, but made by birds.
Yeah, we don't clean them up. We just make them.
We don't clean them up. That's not what we're here for.
Birds, of course, yes.
Birds make messes. Have you ever dealt with a bird's mess before?
Oh, I've never been shat on by a bird, if that's what you're asking.
I have had that happen, actually, a couple different times. Also, I've had to clean it off, vehicles. Or
sure.
If you walk downtown Portland, where the crows like to hang out, they just shit everywhere.
Yeah, it's pretty bad.
It's awesome, though. I love it. Like, go downtown Portland.
You love it?
Oh, Alex, have you ever gone...
Fucking weirdo.
Come on. It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun to just be like, there are so many birds here that you literally can't lick the sidewalk.
Oh my God, shut up. That's so gross.
You can't. I mean,
bird shit is disgusting. It's one of those things that like makes the back of my throat water. I'm like,
oh God, I'm sorry. Well,
you know what I mean?
I do know what you mean.
Yeah.
Luckily, we're not talking about poop here.
Great.
So we're going to move on past that. Take a drink of water, relax. Now, have you heard of a small bird called a shrike?
Yeah.
Tell me about the shrike, Alex.
In Pixar's Up, the old man in the beginning. He tricks the kid. Maybe he calls it a snipe.
Yes, a very different bird.
Yeah, all right. Yeah. Well, so I guess I don't really know anything about the shrike.
Okay.
I think there's a medieval weapon called a shrike.
Ooh, I don't know about that.
It's like a throwing weapon, I believe.
Perhaps. I wouldn't be surprised. It fits what we're talking about here.
Yeah.
The shrike is also, I think there's like a superhero or comic book thing about this. And they're all related to this bird. Now, what's interesting about this bird is it is a predator, but it doesn't predate on things the way that kind of you expect a normal bird to predate on big things. I'll give you an example. You are thinking of like a bird of prey, right? Mm-hmm. What defines that bird of prey?
Bird of prey. It's interesting they call it a bird of prey, not a bird of predator. A bird of prey to me, size. It's got to be a big bird.
Okay.
Big talons, sharp beak.
Big talons and a sharp beak.
Yeah.
Okay. Now that is very good because they are using those talons. Most of these birds, owls, hawks, kites, like those kinds of things. Peregrine falcons.
Don't forget eagles.
Exactly. Sorry. They will go find a thing and they'll use their strong arms or strong hands, their talons to like kill it and rip it apart and like eat it and like do all that crazy stuff.
Right.
Very metal. They will also use their giant strong wings and bodies to like catch something and fly away with it.
Yeah.
And hold it down with one hand while they eat it or rip it apart with the other hand, right?
Yeah.
So, have you ever heard of the bird passerine?
No.
Or the term passerine as applied to birds.
I have not.
It's essentially a kind of a nondescript word. It's kind of like saying a tree. You know how we have like birds and trees as like these big general categories? Mm-hmm. Well, a passerine bird is one of those lowercase categories that like, it doesn't describe like a group of birds that are all one clade. It's just kind of a general thing like songbirds.
Okay.
And essentially, that is what a passerine bird is. They call them perching birds, and they're distinguished by other birds because they have certain kinds of toes, one that points backwards and a couple that go forwards.
Oh, yeah.
And they just like sit on things, but songbirds is the way that we describe it.
Sure.
Your little tiny birds that aren't really doing a whole lot. They're scavenging for seeds. You see them at the bird feeder. Maybe they'll like get, snakes and little kind of animals every now and then. But they don't really, they're not really like birds that are going to go catch mice or birds that go catch big frogs or snakes or other birds.
Okay.
Generally speaking, except for the shrike. And because of this unique situation, the shrike has developed a unique thing that's very closely related to where it lives and what it lives on. What I mean by that, Alex? Because I see you looking directly at me, and you're like, I don't know where Casey's going with this.
a little bit.
Well, so they do like the same kind of perching, hawking thing that other birds do. And I'm not a bird expert. There's lots of you who are out there, and we love you for listening this far. Please continue.
My friend Adam Stone is going to love this episode.
Okay, great.
Or
Adam,
hate it. I don't know.
This is for you. Please email us with all the things I got wrong. But the reason that we're doing a shrike in our Spooktober is that as we did last week, where the tree actively used and killed the birds, the script is kind of flipped a little bit, where the birds are not killing the tree, but they're using the tree to kill or otherwise hold on to things that have already been killed.
Do they, is this like when leopards drag deer up into the tree?
Yes. Oh, Alex, that's so perfect. That's exactly what it is. The shrike, because it's this little passerine bird,
it's so fucked up.
It doesn't have the strength to like actually sit on something, hold it with its feet and rip it apart.
Sure.
So what it does is it catches something. And Alex, I got to take one side note to say this isn't just a bird that kind of goes down and says, gotcha, and then it goes and does something with you. It attacks and grabs like a mouse or something like that. Bites it in its beak, which is kind of, the top is a little bit pointed down at the tip. It like flies at speed grabs it by the neck and then like twists and rotates and gives the little animal whiplash, breaks its spinal cord, and then flies it up to an acacia tree, or more commonly now some barbed wire, and then it will pull and rip that animal's body onto this 3-inch thorn inside this tree.
Wow.
And just leave it there.
And not eat it?
It will eat it if it's hungry, but otherwise it's a larder for some birds. For other birds, it'll sit there. There's a species and another tree. It's not the same thorn that we're talking about. It's one that is native to the United States in one of these shrikes. It will get things in the southwestern United States that are like really poisonous, like monarch butterflies and this big beetle, or this big cricket rather, and snakes that are poisonous, all these kinds of things. And it will fly and get them, pull them onto it, and leave it there for a couple days so that the poisons and the venoms and all these things kind of like go away. And then it'll come back and it will eat them.
It's curing it.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Isn't that insane?
That is, I will give, I haven't given one of these in a while. That fact gives that bird in this whole process.
Yeah.
Crowson stump of approval.
Fagoosh. Oh, that
Big
just makes me
time.
so happy.
Big time.
Dude,
That's top 5 that I've
so
learned in this
gnarly.
entire podcast. That's crazy.
I had no idea. You can look up, and we'll post a link to this on our website. There's a BBC documentary. I think it's just one of those, a Planet Earth. And there are these birds that are just flying around, and they're just like yanking these bodies of lizards onto these giant thorns on these acacia trees.
It's just so
metal.
like, it's so extra. It's like, why do you need to do that?
I don't, the reason that they're doing it, because people I'm sure have thought about this. They're like, are these birds just like so masochistic?
Yeah.
But it is two ways. One, they're very territorial birds, so they will go down and just like freak out all the other birds and be like, get out of here.
Wow.
But they're not like big scary birds that attack other birds. They do sometimes. It is documented, but they usually will be like, get away from this. This area is mine because it's my larder. I'm going to store stuff here because, oh man, there's so many lizards here. I have to catch all these lizards right now. I'm not that hungry. I'm going to put it in the fridge. I'm going to eat it later. Or maybe it is eating and feeding for another. They usually are monogamous, so they mate with one other bird. Then they would say, hey, here's a bunch of food for you while you're sitting on the clutch of eggs. Then once the eggs hatch, then they have this stuff stored for their children.
Okay, it's sweet now.
Exactly. But they also do it in case they are just letting that thing die and they're not strong enough to rip it apart themselves. They'll pull it onto the thing and then just eat it from the side.
I guess, you got to use the tools you have.
You totally do. And if you are living in a, let's say, a dry savanna area, there are very few trees. So you sit in a tree and you look around and you find all these animals in the savanna area around you. You catch them. Where are you going to look to put your nicely, newly, freshly caught squirrel? In your acacia tree, and you'll rip it down on one of those gigantic thorns. So this tree, let's go back. The thorns probably developed because of other animals coming over and eating, so they developed thorns to protect themselves.
Sure, your megafauna.
It's your megafauna issues, your giraffes.
Your giraffes.
However, this bird has taken advantage of the situation of the titular thorn tree to use it to just the most intense, most metal possible way you can think about it.
Yeah, man, that's pretty interesting.
Isn't that wild?
Casey, I can't think of a better time to get into our review of this tree.
I agree.
Let's throw a little review to the shrike as well. I will say, I Googled while you were talking, a shrike is a throwing weapon. Like a throwing star, right? Or a throwing knife.
Gotcha.
So I would bet you money that the shrike weapon is named after the bird because it's a little thing that flies through the air and bites into you.
Yep, I would 100% agree.
Yeah, pretty cool. Just that's for the medieval warfare fans out there.
Hey, shout out. We love you guys.
Thank you. Here's how it works. We're going to give some final thoughts on this tree and give it a rating of 0 to 10 golden cones of honor. Casey, as our resident lizard larder storage person.
Ooh,
we'll
almost
begin
an
with
alliteration, but not quite. I get to go first.
That's right.
Okay, I wasn't sure if you said that. I was just laughing.
Yeah, we begin with you as the end of that scripted portion.
My review of the Babel tree or the Vachellia tree.
We said we were going to hard land on...
You're right. Okay, it is the Thorn Mimosa thorn.
Thorn Mimosa.
All right, Alex.
That's what I have. Is it supposed to be Mimosa thorn?
I think no, you're good. I read it correctly. You're good. The Mimosa thorn. I think this tree is pretty rad. I don't know if I like it in terms of the aesthetics. I know we're talking about it. The flowers are gorgeous. The fact that when I look at it, my eyes kind of go cross-eyed a little bit.
Yeah,
kind of freaks me out.
Sure, a
little bit of a freak out.
It's hard to look at.
It is. It's hard to look at. I do have to say I prefer the umbrella thorn in terms of form more so, just because I like that kind of like long cloud-like thing, rather than this like poof where it looks more like ball lightning or something like that. But I don't think that this tree necessarily is one that we should just do on the aesthetics, because I think there's a whole bunch of other things that go on.
There certainly is.
There's a lot happening.
Yeah.
On the, it's planted in like India as a street tree all the time. Like it's a big time used tree. There are, it's in agroforestry. People use it for wood. It's got every use under the sun. It grows pretty quickly. You can plant it in the roughest places and it will do just fine because of this really big, deep system of roots. It's a tree that has been intimately connected with humanity for millennia. That's pretty cool. And on top of that, it has this other connection with birds that just absolutely blows your mind.
Yeah.
And I really like the idea of a tree that like doesn't mind that. I like the idea that this tree, you're just walking through and you're like, oh my God, what's the matter? And the tree's like, ha, gotcha. No, don't worry. I didn't do this. No, this is not me. I hope you're fine. But anyway, I always love when people see that. How enjoy your day. I think it's great that this tree is used that way. So it kind of makes up for it. I don't think that the tree has like anything that's outstanding aside from how it's used by a bird that might be a bit of a psychopath. So for that, I'm going to give it like a very, very solid 7.3.
Okay.
Which, if you add them together, they make 10.
This is a metaphorical score.
It's a metaphorical score.
Okay.
Yes, exactly.
Got it. 7.3 golden cones of honor for Vachellia nilotica.
That's right. Now,
Casey Clapp.
From the Shrike, 10 out of 10.
Oh, no doubt.
10 out of 10. How can you not give a bird that does that? And it's so successful all over the place. Anyway, yeah.
Perfect score for the Shrike.
Cue rock music.
Yes, instead of the Mini Vandals milk, we'll be taken out today by some Black Sabbath or something.
Oh, that would be so good. As things went black by the Black Dahlia Murder.
Oh, all right.
As everything went black. Everything went black. There's one album.
I'll find
like
it.
that. You'll get it.
Okay. The Thorn Mimosa.
Mimosa thorn. Thorn Mimosa?
Casey.
Damn it. I already forgot.
Which one is it? I have Thorn Mimosa written down.
Oh, okay, good. That's what we want then.
Okay, are you sure? We can look it up after the show. We don't have to do this now.
Let's do it.
I think this tree is pretty great. It's not news to anybody, or shouldn't be news to anybody, that I kind of take the aesthetics of a tree pretty seriously.
Yeah.
I just like aesthetic. I like visual, stuff.
Yeah.
It pleases me. This one doesn't look great when you're just kind of looking at it as a whole, but you get up close and each of those elements is so beautiful and unique.
Oh.
But like my analogy earlier, you can't just take you could take 5 of the best basketball players in the world, put them on a team together, and that team could lose every game.
It's true.
Because it's about how they work as a team. It's not just about individual talent, right? I think.
It is the best sports metaphor you've ever done.
That's
great.
I peaked. I think that's the case with the Thorn Mimosa. Wonderful, unique characteristics on their own. Together, you step back, you go, holy shit, this is a mess. But I give it 8.5 Golden Cones of Honor because I think those things by itself make it great. I will apologize or say you're welcome to our Australian friends. I don't know how this tree is seen in Australia. Mm-hmm. You said it's invasive. Usually invasive trees are hated.
Yeah, and I think they have like a special term. Like it's like a countrywide significant noxious weed tree.
All right, yeah.
Yeah, I hear it's pretty bad.
That sucks. And I'm sorry about that, but I don't live in Australia, so I'm giving it I'm giving this a score from my perspective, which is behind a computer monitor. All right, that was our review of the Thorn Mimosa. Casey, it's time for our completely arbitrary Q&A of taking a question, as we have been doing, as we will be doing in the future, from the Patreon. If you want to get a question on the pod, patreon.com/arbitrarypod, and join the Quercus and Alders. That's Q&A. Casey, this week's question is from Now. Hello, I recently became a Quercus and Alder patron. Hey, because I enjoy your podcast and want to ask you a question.
That's what I'm talking about.
That is textbook.
Yeah, that is perfect.
My question isn't scientific. I'm glad I'm here.
This podcast is not scientific.
I had a fruiting cherry tree and a plum tree in my garden.
Okay.
They came from a, quote, ecologically conscious store that sells grafted trees for low cost.
Okay.
However, they were infected with black fungus and infested with aphids.
Oh.
I didn't want to use harmful chemicals to get rid of them, but ladybugs or, quote, natural compounds were unable to manage these diseases. Mm-hmm. So I had to remove these trees. Mm. Since then, I see all the plants look uncomfortable and cursed when I plant them in the area where the cherry and plum trees used to be.
Oh, no.
Is it a problem of soil or rhizome remnants?
Interesting.
My grandmother used to say that tree ghosts will leave a curse when trees get mistreated.
Man.
I think the part of my garden is haunted because I removed them. Do you sometimes feel either positive or negative energy from trees or an area where trees were cut down? What shall I do to this area? What can I plant next?
Wow. This is such an intense question.
That's awesome.
Yes. Well, so was this a quote, ecologically responsible nursery? Is that what that was?
Yeah, they came from a, quote, ecologically conscious store that sells grafted trees for low cost. So maybe this was like the inbred cousin, you know?
Yeah, it's possible. So the first thing with that, there's a lot of layers to this. I think we should start with that. Let's do the what exactly was my first things with these trees? Each one of these trees, they're stone fruits. They're both in prunus, plum and cherry.
That's right.
They're very closely related to the point where they are both called prunus.
Yes.
So both of them getting the same diseases and infestations makes sense.
Likely, right?
Very likely, not out of the ordinary. Depending on where they were, if there was shade over the top, if they consistently got water over the top of them. Also, if this was this year in the Pacific Northwest, there was a very late spring, so there was a lot of water later in the year.
Yeah.
And the black often is a fungus. It could be a couple different things. One, there are fungus that could produce some kind of spots on these fruit trees. Fruit trees are notorious for getting this. This is half the reason when we did our Japanese cherry where I was like, stop planting these trees. Oh my gosh.
They get fungus?
They just get fungus unless they're planted in places that are really good for them.
Okay.
Or you don't mind a tree that's kind of, covered in fungus. But here's my real thought. I think these two things are connected, Alex. I don't necessarily think they have anything to do with the soil, potentially. Because these trees, unless the soil is completely awful, will probably do just fine. The thing that first jumps out of the page for me is this ecologically responsible nursery.
Yeah.
Grafted trees, don't worry about it. Almost every tree that you're going to get that's a fruit tree is going to be grafted. However, if they're ecologically responsible, then they wouldn't be using any chemically treated plants. They wouldn't have any pesticides or herbicides.
That's
on
right.
them, which means you're more likely to get an infestation then of some insect. In this case, aphids. If you have a bunch of aphids, they produce honeydew. When they produce honeydew in mass, which is essentially the end product of their metabolism, they suck the juices of the trees and they take little trace elements of proteins and other different chemicals and compounds that they want. And then the rest is just essentially sugar water that they just send out the rear end. That will drip onto things, and then you will get a sooty mold that grows on the sugary honeydew.
I see.
So the black comes from the insects. The insects come from a tree that is not treated, that is just kind of predisposed to getting that kind of infestation no matter what.
Casey, that's all fine and well.
Yes.
But there's a second part to this haunting.
There's a second part of this, Alex.
That this land is cursed.
This land might be cursed.
Yeah.
So it's... I first off would wonder if the land is cursed, but the curse could be that there is something in the soil. The curse could be that there is too much shade over the top of this area.
Sure.
So it's literally this kind of dark space that didn't have enough sunlight to really push out the demons into some other spot. So I would say first check that. Check to see if there is enough sunlight.
Get an EKG meter out there.
Exactly. See if it's going to actually...
Not called an EKG meter.
It could be. It might as well be. The other thing that you can do is go get some neem oil if that wasn't tried, because there's a lot of these ecological things to help get rid of aphids that aren't quite so awful for the environment, that are more natural remedies. Neem oil, like botanical soap is another thing, or botanical oil really helps with this. Or you can also just go out there and just use your fingers and just kind of go and just kind of rip them off, and they squish very easily.
Wow.
Yeah.
Ghost busted.
Ghost busted.
Hey, you know what? There's a TV show where there's like a reality show where people write in and say, my house is haunted.
Yeah, yeah.
And a team of like scientists and like construction, like architects and stuff. What is that called? Like
a contractor, like a carpenter or something.
Yeah. They come out and they go, oh, you hear, the floor is creaking upstairs when there's nobody up there, and they go up there and they're like, oh yeah, you have like mildew that's like expanding and it's pressing the floorboards down, and
that's so good.
They ghost bust through the use of like technology and science.
They
explain every problem that this person is having.
That is beautiful.
We just did that with now.
And then I hope they charge to fix them too at the end of it. They're like, oh, and here's your bill.
Here's my card.
Yeah.
I'll be happy to take care of all this for you.
Well, Alex, there is one last thing that I should note that we should discuss about that question.
Okay.
Do you think the spirits of trees haunt the space once they're gone? I think yes. I think yes, Alex, and I think this yes in a very literal yet also metaphysical way. Where if I am in an area and they cut down a nice tree and the tree's gone, it haunts me. I look at it, I'm like, there used to be a big tree here. There used to be shade. There used to be something here. And that place has this like darkened, even though it's lighter, there's this darkened thing. There was a gigantic black walnut tree where your dad used to live, where my mom still lives, right on the corner of the road as you pass the Safeway and you go down the hill. Used to be this huge big tree. The biggest of this species I have ever seen. And they cut it down a few years ago, not weeks after I told my mom, just out of hand, if they ever cut down that tree, you call me.
Wow.
And she took a picture of that tree stump, and she's like, you mean this tree? And I was like, I cried. Like, it was the perfect tree. It was beautiful. I'm haunted every time I drive by. I look at that place, and I also, not only am I haunted, I curse those people as I go by. It's like you guys are complete assholes.
I guess it depends on your that's very sad. I'm sorry that happened. That's a huge bummer. I don't remember the tree you're talking about, but I'm sure I would if I
yeah, if you saw a picture, you'd remember. It's been a long time since you've been there.
That's true.
I pass by every week.
His face still haunts me. I guess it depends on your definition of haunt.
Yeah, I mean,
spirit. I don't.
Yeah.
I don't believe believe that this is a thing. Although I understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
I don't believe that you believe it's a thing, but I believe that you believe what you believe is a thing.
Okay, how many
is a thing?
Okay, I think I know where we're at. Great.
Thank you for your question now. That's really interesting. I love those kinds of questions.
I do, and I also love the spiritual significance that people have with trees. Like that is totally real. I don't necessarily have the ability to describe it. I don't know if anyone does, except for Noah's grandma.
I mean, I have that feeling with animals, certainly.
Ah, yes.
As many people do. But yeah. I think maybe trees are less common. But of course, a lot of our listeners, you included, feel I suppose I do also feel an emotional sort of spiritual connection to trees in the natural world.
Yeah.
How could you not, I guess. Hey, if you want to ask us a question, get it on the podcast. Join the Patreon at the Quercus and Alders, that's Q&A tier for $3 a month. We may just ask your question.
We sure will. You can also join the Patreon for just $1 a month. Give us some general support, a tree hug, if you will. There's also some better things going up. You move up to the Arboretum level, Alex.
Yes.
You can listen to upwards of 2 new unheard episodes every month, only released on the Patreon.
Uncut.
There's nothing like it you'll ever find anywhere.
Wow, what a claim.
Then $10 a month. That's the Cone of the Month Club, Alex.
That's right. You get a unique die-cut cone sticker illustrated by a cool independent artist sent to your physical, actual mailbox.
Exactly.
Every month. You know, every one of those envelopes was licked by the tongue of Mr. John Casey Clapp.
You remind us every week, Alex. Thank you.
Or you can join Arbortrary Plus, our new $15 tier, our live stream tier. Every month, you can watch me play a tree or nature-themed video game, and you get a live stream of Casey and I. We're going to do all sorts of cool shit.
It's going to be a lot of fun.
And you get to interact with us. Holler at us in the chat. We'll chat back.
Exactly. It's immediate gratification. That also comes with access to our hidden cone store.
That's right.
Also, if you sign up for $5 a month, you get 15% off our store all the time, every time. All purchases.
There's just all kinds of fun shit happening over on the Patreon.
There's just all kinds of fun stuff. You can also give us some generous admission, which is just saying, hey, I just want to support you guys and get more stuff. We have a lot of new things that are coming up this next year, and that is how we get the support. You're the best.
We love y'all. And with that, Casey Clapp.
Oh, Alex.
What an episode. This was a fun one. I enjoyed it.
I feel really good. I'm glad you did, because this is a tree that has a lot going on. It was hard to pick, and I think we navigated things properly. I
won't lie. Going into it, I was a little indifferent, as I sometimes am.
That's very fair.
I'm not gonna put on airs and say that I'm like 1,000% fascinated in every tree we talk about.
You are a tree agnostic.
We can talk about that some other time. I like to keep my personal views to myself.
I see.
However, you introduced birds ripping their prey on the thorns of this tree. I really got into it, I would say.
You were sweating a little bit.
Yeah,
you were on the edge of your seat.
That was the dark night of the soul in story parlance.
Yes, this is exactly right.
Yeah. Casey Clapp.
Alex Crowson.
Thanks for the fun chat, my friend.
Always. I'll see you next week.
See you next week. And thank you for listening. We will see you next time. Bye-bye.
Au revoir. Completely Arbortrary is produced by Alex Crowson and Casey Clapp.
Our artwork is by Jillian Barthold, and our music is by Aves and the Mini Vandals.
And you can support the podcast at patreon.com/arbortrarypod.
And find additional readings at completelyarbortrary.com. Thanks for listening.